online group that I'm connected with, I heard the question posed recently. Can I hear some of the good things about foster care? I need inspiration. And maybe that's you today. Maybe you need some inspiration or some encouragement along the way. Maybe you've only heard the negative stories about fostering and you want to hear some of the things that are good that maybe you didn't even consider or know about. Today, we're going to discuss those things. Make sure to stay till the end for my final thoughts and subscribe below. Let's get started. My name is Jenna Vallanetta. I've been a foster parent for 15 years, and I just want to share some encouragement with you. A lot of times we do hear the negative things about foster care, and there are hidden nuggets and beautiful things that we might learn or recognize or see along the way. And today I want to highlight some of those things for you. So let's just jump right in. Some good things about foster care that maybe you haven't considered before is number one, foster care, it does something remarkable, something that maybe you didn't even consider before because maybe you've heard only the negative stories about, families having disarray or stress or chaos. But the reality is, from my experience in fostering all of these years, is number one, that foster care, it can and has the potential to bring families together in a beautiful way. I asked my 14-year-old daughter, I said, what are some of the good things that you think are about foster care? And this is the one thing she came up with. She said, Mom, foster care has really brought us together as a family. It puts everyone kind of on the same page. It gives us a common goal. It's kind of almost like playing sports, right? When you're on the same team and you're trying to make a touchdown or a basket and you're all working together and strategizing and focusing your energy in the same direction, there can be an enormous amount of unity that can take place. If you know Francis Chan, he is a worldwide evangelist, pastor. He lives in Hong Kong right now, but he wrote a book, You and Me Forever. He wrote this book with his wife. I will try to make sure to link it below, so check the description out if you want to read it for yourself. But we did this study in our home group at our house years and years ago, and this study was kind of revolutionary to my thinking because a lot of times we focus on marriages and we focus on, maybe communication skills, or we've put all of this effort in being unified as a couple. And really what Francis Chan said in this book was when a common goal is focused on with a husband and a wife, whether that's raising children or maybe having a business together or even foster parenting, when we focus on God goals and we focus on good goals, we can see such unity in our marriage. They weren't about maybe satisfying ourselves or making sure we're happy or we have our needs met. Our focus is really caring for the children that are in our home. And what I've witnessed is there is a certain depth and width and a rawness and a realness to our relationship as a married couple because of foster care. And so that might be for you a hidden, good, secret, or beautiful thing that you might be able to see as you become or are a foster parent. Another thing that we've noticed is that we have adult children. And so, a lot of times kids grow up, they turn 18, maybe they'll, move out. And sometimes, sadly, parents don't see their adult children anymore. But with foster care and with adopting, what we've noticed is our kids are really drawn to our home. We do meals together because this is where we need to congregate. We have a lot of little kids and it's really hard to go out or maybe do some things that other families can't do. But our home, it becomes a hub of really just oneness and love, unconditional love. And it's a beautiful way that God uses foster care to draw the family together. If you've only heard the negatives of foster care and how it can create division or maybe chaos in a family, that might be a good time for you to watch the videos I'm going to post again in the link below. It's about foster care burnout and foster care break. When and why we as foster parents, we do need a break because there is a way to foster well, giving ourselves space and giving ourselves permission to be able to really walk this journey together, but also meeting our own individual needs. And so I'm going to post those below. And again, Foster care, it really can bring your family together. I know because I've seen it in my own family. So the second, maybe surprisingly good thing about foster care that you didn't know is that foster care, it can spark this amount of gratefulness in us that maybe we've never experienced or walked in before. If you've ever seen the movie Blindside, it is about an older foster youth who enters a home and he becomes adopted. It's a beautiful story. Again, I'll try to link that below. So there's a book as well, or audiobook that you can listen to that's just excellent. There is a point in this book where this young man is sitting at the table and it's Thanksgiving and they're used to watching football and separating and doing their own thing. But eventually this family comes together at the table. They give thanks and they pray and they recognize that this is a beautiful thing. This gift of family is a gorgeous and incredible thing. There's another scene where this foster youth goes to his room and he said, I've never had one of those before. And his foster and adopted mom says, well, what is that? A family? And he said, no, I've never had a bed. And it can do something to the insides of you when you have a child who's come who maybe they've never sat down at a meal. We experience that a lot in foster care. Kids who don't sit down just a simple meal with family or have conversations or maybe play games together. And so when we see kids or those around us find gratefulness in just the day-to-day, it can do something to us as foster parents. It can make us recognize and see the beautiful things that maybe we've missed all along. In our culture, a lot of times we will get something new or we'll strive and work really hard, get something new. But what I've found is a lot of people, the moment that they get something new, what happens? Their eyes shift and they look and want something else. And so then they race after something else, and it can be this sense of greed or unsettledness or a desiring to use material goods to fulfill something we're lacking inside of us. But foster kids, they just want to be loved. They just want a family. And so when we take foster kids into our homes, we will see that the kids often are extremely grateful for what they get. And what that does is it turns around and it does something in us, and it sparks a spirit of gratefulness in us as well. The third, surprisingly good thing about foster care that maybe you didn't know is that our biological and our adopted kids will often connect and they will bond with and accept foster kids in just an incredible way. In our society, a lot of times, we don't live like that. Even as adults, we have certain walls or parameters around our lives or our family or our possessions, but kids are different. When you have your own child that you've adopted or are biological, and then a foster child enters your home, it can be shocking how quickly these kids accept and love and embrace foster children. A lot of times they will come out and go to the room and bring out their favorite toys and let foster kids play with them. They will let them share a room. They will, introduce them to their friends and be willing to share their friends. Foster kids are seen for who they are on the inside. As adults, we get older and often we judge people either on their outward appearance or maybe on their backstory, but kids are not like that. They see the hearts of these kids. And often when these hearts are broken, these foster kids that come into our homes, our kids can feel and sense that. And so authentically and genuinely, they will approach foster kids and embrace them wholeheartedly. I saw this with my daughter and our now another daughter that we've adopted. When she came into our home, she was really inconsolable and she cried and she cried. But my daughter at the time, my older daughter, came and she sang to her and she embraced her and she loved her. And instantly, like literally instantly, there was this beautiful and incredible bond. Kids can accept and embrace kids in a beautiful way, and it is something awesome to witness, and it is a gift. And so don't be afraid to bring foster kids into your home with your biological kids. I also did a video about biological kids and how foster kids can affect the kids that are already in your home. I'll try to find that one and put the video below as well. But please just remember that our kids do accept, love, and embrace and connect with the kids that we choose to receive as foster placements. So the fourth surprisingly good thing that you may not know about foster care, because again, we often hear only the negative stories or about the bad behaviors, about frustrated foster parents, or about a broken system, or maybe the frustration with the biological family. But the truth about foster care is that it is one of the most fulfilling things that you could ever do. I remember when we first took our foster placement and we had the honor and the privilege of having another family's child, another woman's baby in our home. I remember laying my head on the pillow that night, and there was sure a sense of brokenness and sadness over the loss of that family, over that baby. But at the same time, after a full day of feeding and caring for her and just loving on her, I put my head on the pillow, and I had never been so satisfied knowing that I was doing something for the good of someone else and not just myself. We're a family that has had a lot of experiences. We've traveled to China and to Guatemala and to Peru and all over. We've done a lot of great things. We really sought to find the most fulfilling and the most meaningful life that we could. However, there is hardly anything that we've ever experienced that is more fulfilling than being a foster parent. The fifth surprisingly good thing about foster care that maybe you just don't know is that foster care is not the end of the story for kids that are in care. We do hear the statistics. We do hear all the negative things about foster kids, about how they're more likely to be in prison or not go to college or maybe engage in drugs or promiscuous behaviors. But the reality is there are some beautiful, beautiful kids that have come up in foster care. You might not know them. You might not even have imagined that they have spent time in foster care. My husband, he works with the public. He's pretty outgoing and social, so he talks to a lot of people. A lot of people will say, "What do you do?" Or maybe my husband's telling a story about our kids or a situation that happened, and they will find out that he's a foster parent. To his surprise, what he has learned is that a lot of the people that he has talked to, more than he even imagined, they will tell him, "Guess what? I spent a weekend, a week, a couple years, or my whole childhood in foster care." Sometimes they are professionals. They are well-accomplished people with their own families, with their own success stories, and you would never guess their backstories. But because they know that we're foster parents, they share their stories and what they've experienced. According to childsrights.org, in 2019, there was 672,000 foster kids, and that is out of 25 million children in 2019. That makes 2.7% of the children in 2019 have once spent a season or a period of time in their lives in foster care. And regardless of their story, how long they spent in care, whether they got adopted or not adopted, what their experience was, good or bad, these kids do go on and be successful. There is hope for them. There is a chance and opportunities for them to have their own lives and their own children and families and to be incredible and deep and insightful and loving and compassionate adults. So never discount foster kids, because foster kids can grow up to be the most incredible human beings. Foster care is not the end of a child's story. The sixth thing that may be surprisingly good about foster care that you didn't know is this: that social workers and biological parents are not all bad. And some of you, maybe if you're a foster parent even, or have heard some stories, you might instantly want to just turn this video off, or you might cringe a little, or maybe negative emotions are stirring in you because you've had a bad experience with a social worker or with a biological family. And granted, we have been there. We have been in some of the most difficult situations, and we have experienced hard things from both the social workers and biological families. At the beginning of our foster journey, it's so easy, I think, to imagine that we're going to come in and swoop up these kids and everything's going to be fine. And when you experience maybe maybe dishonesty, or maybe a lack of integrity, or maybe different motives or agendas on behalf of anyone else in the foster care system, it can be disheartening. It can be maybe even natural to deem these groups of people as bad. And we clump everyone together and assume that these people are bad because of our few experiences with a couple. The truth is, social workers, biological family, they are really no different than us. Just like we're not fully good, we're not saints and perfect people that come in and rescue these kids. We make mistakes, we make bad choices, or maybe we respond the wrong way in certain situations. In the same exact way, social workers and biological families, they are a mixture. There can be good and there can be bad. And even within the most amazing, incredible people, everyone has a bad day. And everyone can have a good day, even if they have bad motives. And so to not discount social workers, to not discount biological families, because there are some really good ones out there, people with good intentions, with amazing hearts. I talked on the phone with a biological family member the other day, and we were on the phone for such a long time, and her heart was so beautiful and pure and really wanting to do what was best for her child. We've had social workers and even supervisors that have really been out for our best interest. And it may surprise you, and again, you may not know this, but please don't discount social workers or biological families, because there are good people wherever you go. And the seventh surprisingly good thing that you may not know about foster care is that love is not biased. We hear about foster care. We hear how you can't wear your heart on the sleeve, and you need to be prepared to let them go, and you're going to get your heart broken if you love them. We hear all these stories about the fears and the dangers of loving other people. And again, whether that is a foster child or whether that's the social worker or the biological family, but foster care and love, they go hand in hand. Our motivation as foster parents, it should be love. It should be the best interest of these children. It should be motivated by something in us that is really outside of ourselves. Just like I was sharing earlier about our biological kids or adopted kids that are already in our home, those kids, they love instantly. They don't wait to see if these kids can prove themselves or if they're worthy of love or if they can earn it. They love instantly. And despite maybe our attempts to guard our heart or not wear our feelings on our sleeve, you might be surprised at how quickly you love these foster kids. Sometimes, like my older daughter who I adopted, you look upon these kids, and the moment that you look into your eyes, there is something supernatural that can take over you. There can be this incredible love that just floods you and changes you and transforms you. Other kids, maybe the love doesn't come so quickly. Maybe it takes weeks or days or maybe even months before you see that your heart is connected to this child in a really beautiful and incredible way. Either way, unlike the labels of good and bad people, that really we're all a little bit good and we all make some bad choices, love is not a discriminator of people. When we love, either we love completely, we love fully, or we don't love at all. And it's a beautiful thing. Another thing that I just personally believe in, I'm going to throw out there, is that once you love someone, you never stop loving them. The kids that have come into my home that I adore and I've invested in and I've sacrificed for, these kids, you don't wake up one day and say, oops, I stopped loving them. You continue to love them. You add to the layers of love in your heart and in your mind, and they will always be a part of who you are. Love means attachment. Love means bonding. Love means forever. Love means healing. Love can mean so many things. And beware, because the good thing, and maybe the surprising thing for you about foster care, is that love isn't biased. And these are my final thoughts. A lot of times in foster care, we hear about the hard and the bad things, or we hear about the big situations and the big moves and changes or obstacles in foster care. But there are so many surprisingly good things about foster care. We can choose to look on what is negative, or we can choose to focus on the good and put our energy and our focus and our purpose into that. We hear about the big things, maybe the things in the newspaper, or maybe the ways that kids have changed in large ways. But the reality is there are so many small ways that God just does miracles through foster care. We've seen kids healed that we thought would never heal, or emotionally find healing or change in incredible ways, or they blossom into their gifts, or just little things like parking spots or getting an appointment at a place that maybe takes 8 or 9 months to be able to make an appointment, and you call and within 24 hours you are in. God advocates for these kids. They're his. He's the father to kids who have no fathers, and he is the parent and the one that goes before us as foster parents. He will lead the way. He will cover your home and your family with an incredible amount of grace to give you the strength that you need, the ability you need, the wisdom that you need, and you will see him move as you step out in faith and watch the surprisingly good things that he does through foster care. Thanks, you guys, for watching. I always love your positive comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos like this. And we will see you next time. Remember, as always, go out, live bold, and be brave.